my Fandom friends! Today, January 30th, is my birthday. Now, I don't normally make videos about that kind of stuff. I don't normally draw attention to my birthday, just because I don't really like to get all of the attention. However, this is a very special year because I am turning 25 alongside the Lord of the Rings trilogy. If you don't know, the Lord of the Rings trilogy is like by far my favorite fandom of all time. It is actually what kind of got me into starting this channel years and years ago when I used to make like Lego videos for it and different music videos for it while I was kind of getting into the process of starting to make videos for the first time. And so Lord of the Rings was very detrimental to why this channel even started. And because this series means so much to me, and I just think it's so special that I'm turning 25 alongside this trilogy, the movies that came out on the same year that I was born. I wanted to make this video just kind of in celebration of that. I know this content isn't going to be for a lot of people on my channel. It's more so going to be for just me and collecting all of my thoughts. But for those of you who are going to be entertained by this, that's awesome too. But we are going to be just going through Lord of the Rings, kind of my whole life and how it started and how it's progressed up until now. Just kind of the story of how Lord of the Rings came to be such a big kind of impact in my life. And then by the end of the video, I will be kind of ending it in kind of a vlog type fashion, sharing myself getting to see the movies in theaters over the past 2 weeks, since all 3 of them were in theaters again, the extended editions, and I finally got to see them in theaters for the very first time, which was a very special thing for me. So let's get into kind of where things started off. So I believe it was around 2013 when I was in 6th grade, and my parents were like, "We love this series, we want you to see it, we think you're old enough." And so we all sat down across, different nights, and we watched these 3 different movies. And at that time, watching the movies, I definitely enjoyed them, but I just did not understand what was going on. I was just too young. They had to explain a lot to me. A lot went over my head. I liked them. They were great, but I just didn't really have a solid reaction to them. And also around that time, around like 4th to 6th-ish grade, I was really into Star Wars. And so maybe during that time, my mind was just preoccupied with a different fandom, which is totally reasonable. That happens. Things come and go, things stay. However, in 6th grade, Lord of the Rings was just not for me. However, in 8th grade, which was around 2015-ish, I decided to pick up the series again on my own. And I believe I literally just watched the movies like on my laptop in my bedroom at night on nights that I was available to, and I fell in love with the series. It was also around that time that I decided to read the books. Now, at that time, the books did not totally make a ton of sense to me, just because the books is such a different territory than obviously seeing a visual reenactment of the story. And so I would love to go back and read the books again, because I've actually only read them once, and it was during that time. However, it was around that time that I just fell in love. I was absolutely obsessed. I told my parents, and we were watching them again. I started to watch the extended editions, which was definitely new territory for me. My favorite character from the beginning was Pippin, and especially Merry and Pippin, just their duo. Aragorn was very high up there as well, and it just meant like actually the world to me. But I was obsessed with Pippin, and specifically his actor, who is Billy Boyd. 8th grade year, I remember probably being so insufferable to my friends because I was like, "You have to watch this. This is incredible. This is amazing. It's beautiful. It's emotional. It's this incredible story about this, and this, all these beautiful messages." And I, tried watching it with my friends, and I did, and they liked it, but just not as much as me. And I feel like I was just so obsessive over it. I would wear the one ring around my neck every day to school. I was so obsessed with Pippin to the point where I literally had like a little picture frame, probably like that big, and it was Pippin in it, and I would just carry it around at school. I don't know why, but like I was obsessed. My ringtone for my phone, whenever I got notifications, like a text message, it would literally be Pippin saying, "What about second breakfast?" That whole phrase. It's just so funny thinking back on that because that was like my notification sound for like probably 2 or 3 years until I got another phone. And just like all of these little moments that I remember specifically from 8th grade, and like that was the year that I was just so obsessed with it. And I was just so happy. And of course, around that time as well, around 2000, kind of like 13, 14, 15-ish, was when The Hobbit was coming out in theaters. And the first one, I believe I missed seeing in theaters because I just wasn't totally into it by that time. However, the very first kind of Middle-earth movie that I saw in theaters was the second Hobbit movie, The Desolation of Smaug. And I remember I watched it with my mom. I remember exactly where I sat in the theater. It was like on the left side. The whole thing was full, so we got like almost kind of like sold out seats, so we were kind of like off to the left side of the theater. Well, I guess the theater's right side, but my left if I'm looking at the screen. Anyway, I know exactly where I sat, and I remember her like explaining things to me throughout the movie. And then I remember seeing the third one in theaters. I believe I also watched that with friends and my Girl Scout troop at the time. I just have very specific memories watching these movies and everything. I believe it was around 2016 when I was in 9th grade, my first year of high school, that my parents surprised me by going on vacation to California, specifically San Jose, California, to see Billy Boyd. And as I said earlier, I have been obsessed with him for literal years. I've seen all of the behind the scenes and the extended editions at this point. Like, I am obsessed with all of the actors, but specifically him. And for that to be a surprise for probably my birthday or for Christmas, I don't remember exactly which it was, but it literally meant the world to me. I do have a video somewhere of me sitting there opening up this kind of like surprise gift from my parents, which was the trip to California to see him. And that's a really cute video. I'll have to look for that someday. But yeah, so anyway, we went on this trip to San Jose. I remember the exact outfit I wore when I met him. It was me, my mom, and my brother that got to meet him. I remember like exactly what we talked about, even though this was like so long ago now. But I got his autograph while I talked to him, and then I of course got 2 photos with him. I got one normal and then one silly picture because my parents were gifting all of these things to me because they knew I loved him so much. And so that trip like was like amazing. Just like my whole family being there, seeing this man who I was like obsessed with. But yeah, that is definitely a very strong highlight in kind of my Lord of the Rings timeline of things. A little bit later, my mom and I actually went out to Salt Lake City, Utah for the convention that they were holding there, and we got to meet Elijah Wood, who is the actor of Frodo. Now, my mom is like obsessed with Frodo. I love Frodo, and that was just an amazing trip to go out there and see him for the first time, because at that time, like all of the actors for Lord of the Rings were not coming to my home state or kind of anywhere near there. It was kind of just California and Utah, places that I had to travel to in order to meet these people. And so in those moments, it felt so like unreal because it was like, these guys are never gonna come like close to my home. So traveling out to them was really special. Again, for Elijah Wood, I got to get his autograph and I got to get a photo with him. He's just so darn cute. Obviously love his beautiful blue eyes. And that was also an amazing experience. I remember something that was really scary about the autograph is that he was so popular at that convention that my mom and I had to wait in line, I think it was twice, in order to actually meet him. Because the first time we tried, he had so many people that he couldn't get through them. And so by the time we got to the front, he had to just take a break for the day. And so we had to go back the next day. And it was like so stressful because we had traveled out there for Elijah Wood. And we were like, oh my gosh, are we even gonna get to meet him? But we did. So a little while later in Arizona at Phoenix Fan Fusion, Sean Astin was there, and that is the actor who plays Sam. And so I went to that and I got to meet him as well. For this, I of course got his autograph and a photo with him, and I think something special about meeting him, something that I really remember, is how in tune and like genuine he was with me and my mom when he was speaking to us. And he like really was just so genuine and wholesome. Not that the others weren't, because they totally were, but I could tell that he could like read us in such like an interesting way. And I know that, you know, he's so much older and, you know, more experienced with acting at that time. I think at that time I was also cosplaying Frodo, and so obviously I was wearing the One Ring, and he looked at me and he was like, why do people keep bringing that back? Mr. Frodo and I destroyed that. It was just like the cutest thing. I love when, you know, meeting celebrities, they bring up the topic of, you know, the interest of why you're meeting them, and it's just, it makes it so much more special. Something else that was cool that my dad recommended that I did was ask him to make me an official Goonie. So while I met Sean Astin, I actually got to take the Goonie oath from when obviously he was in the Goonies, and so I am an official Goonie, which was really cool. I feel like that's a really cool fun fact to have. I did the oath alongside Sean Astin. A little later, Elijah Wood actually went to that same convention, and so I got to meet him again. I got a picture with him, and that was that. I got to see him again. An amazing experience as always. And then in 2022 was a big year because I finally got to meet all 4 hobbits at the same time. So my dad and I and my brother went on a trip to Denver, Colorado, and we went to a convention there. And this was the very first time, I believe, that the 4 hobbits, Dominic Monaghan, Billy Boyd, Elijah Wood, and Sean Astin, were at a convention together since the filming of Lord of the Rings. So it had been around 20 years since they had all been together at a convention to meet people. And this was a very special thing because I got to go to a panel that had all 4 of them, and they were speaking for about an hour or 2, and I have the majority of that actually on video. I have it on my YouTube channel if you want to check that out. But that panel was literally just so much fun, hearing them go through all of the stories and the memories. I remember I got in like, I think it was like the 4th row or something. I was like right up in the front, so I got really great video of all of them. But that was so special. And then after that panel, right afterward, if you had like the kind of like VIP pass, you could go up and meet them to get their autographs. So it was Sean Astin first, and then it was Billy Boyd, and then Dominic Monaghan, and then Elijah Wood. So at that point, that was my second time meeting Sean Astin and Billy Boyd, but that was my first time meeting Dominic Monaghan. And Dom means like so much to me as well because he's an animal guy, and so am I. I watch his, you know, Dom's Wild Things, and I love everything he does for animals, and I got to have like a really personal conversation with him about just wildlife, and it meant so much to me. And I remember something he told me was that, you know, once I have more animal stories, the next time I meet him, I can share that with him. And so at that time, that was really special because that's when I was kind of starting my animal experience. And so I didn't really have a ton to tell him, just that I, you know, really admire and look up to him over all of this wildlife stuff. So that was really fun. I also got to have a photo of the 5 of us. This obviously was during COVID times, so unfortunately there was like plexiglass in between us. So I'll probably have to meet the 4 of them again sometime in the future just so I can, you know, hug them and get like a nice picture of the 5 of us. But I still love this picture. I adore it. They're all adorable. I love them so much. Also at this convention, Billy and Dom were holding a panel that I got to go to for their podcast called The Friendship Onion. If you are unfamiliar with it, it's just a podcast that they do as friends together. And I had been listening to this podcast for probably like a year or 2. And so seeing them live was so special. I want to say this was like their 2nd or 3rd live show was at the Denver convention. And so that was really cool. I was in like, I think the 2nd or 3rd row. So I was like right up front, and I have videos showing all of that when I saw Dom for the first time and like freaking out because I actually went to that podcast panel before I saw the big panel with everyone. So this was genuinely my first time seeing Dom. But yeah, that was incredible. I have an entire video talking about that as well. And yeah, that experience as a whole is one of my favorites alongside the Utah convention. Just amazing times with both my parents and seeing these guys, which you know, I love with all my heart. And then fast forward to 2025, as early as last year, Billy and Dom, actually all of the Hobbits, as well as John Rhys Davies, were at Phoenix Fan Fusion in Arizona, and so I got to meet some of the Hobbits again there, specifically Billy and Dom. This is when I got to get an autograph for Dom, kind of on his own, since I didn't have one of just his yet, because the autograph that I got in Denver was a picture of like all the hobbits. So I got to meet him individually. I actually got to share a lot of the animal experience that I've had over the past couple years. So that really, really meant a lot to me. And after I got to meet him and talk with him to get that autograph, I got to meet Billy and Dom again as Pippin, as I was cosplaying Pippin for this picture. And cosplaying Pippin is something that I've been wanting to do for so long. I just never had. I'd cosplayed like Frodo, Aragorn, and Legolas, but like those were like bot cosplays, but the Pippin one was kind of like just something I threw together specifically for seeing Billy and Dom at this convention. So yeah, that was really special. I was literally carrying around like real carrots all day and people loved it. I actually had Billy hold them for the picture. I think he was holding the carrot and then Dom was holding a potato or something. Those were real vegetables, by the way, and they loved it. I remember Billy was like, oh, they smell so fresh. Throughout the years, I have also met two people from the Hobbit movies. It was Manu Bennett, which plays Azog, and then Graham McTavish, who plays Dwalin, the dwarf. So that was really cool as well. I always try to meet these people, these cast members, when I can, to go through the list because they are all such incredible people and actors. And again, just the entirety of the Middle-earth stories from J.R.R. Tolkien just means so much to me. I am very excited to see what Middle-earth and Lord of the Rings has for me in store over the next couple years. And again, it's just been such an amazing journey since, you know, 2013-ish, and enjoying this story for over a decade now. And again, just getting to celebrate my 25th birthday alongside this anniversary for the series that means so much to me. And so now I am going to be transitioning into kind of a vlog type fashion for getting to see these movies in theaters. I went with my mom and dad for each of these movies and we had a great time. I obviously cried, got emotional, loved them. And again, this was my first time seeing them in theaters. So huge shout out to Peter Jackson for being able to get these back in theaters for my generation who is just too young to have seen them when they first came out. Because it is such an experience getting to see these iconic movies in theaters. And I guess before jumping into the vlog, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to obviously the creator of this whole series, J.R.R. Tolkien, but also Peter Jackson for bringing this whole world to life. Like truly, it means so much to me, and I know thousands and thousands of people out there, and all of the people who worked on these movies to make this incredible piece of cinema, and the actors and everyone. Like, it's literally spectacular. And I think something that I love so much about these movies as well, Lord of the Rings in particular, is just for that time being so real and natural as possible. Filming in New Zealand and trying not to use as much CGI and green screens and kind of just the technology that we're used to today. A lot of the stuff coming out today, in my personal opinion, just feels so fake and just unreal, but kind of like in a negative way, just because compared to Lord of the Rings for that time, it just blows my mind. Like truly, those movies are an absolute piece of art and they will forever, ever be my favorites. And I could gush about them literally forever, but let's jump into the vlog and that'll be how I wrap up this video. But please let me know your thoughts if you are a huge Lord of the Rings fan as well, and just anything you want to talk about that I talked about in this video. So I'm gonna wrap things up from there. Let's jump into the vlog and I will see you next time for some more fandom fun. Bye! Alright, it is January 20th, almost 4 o'clock, and the Fellowship of the Ring is playing at 4:30. And I'm just so excited. I am on my way there. I'm gonna be seeing it with my dad, and I had to wear this cute little outfit. It's kind of hard to see, but it's like a Lord of the Rings vest and it has the Fellowship of the Ring on it. Obviously had to wear the one ring. I couldn't find my chains, that's why it's on a string. I've had this for like gosh, probably like 15-ish years by now. But yeah, I'm so excited.
An American guy who said, "Oh, I've got my tickets booked for these screenings," and I knew that this guy would do it.
Just got done with the Fellowship of the Ring. It is now a little past 8 p.m. and oh my gosh, this was, of course, like I said before, my first time seeing it in theaters because I was just, you know, too young to have seen it when it came out. I was like being born. So, oh my gosh, but no, it was amazing. I feel like literally within the first minute, I was already crying and tearing up during Galadriel's whole like speech in the beginning part, and you know, obviously tearing up over other things. Merry and Pippin like mean the world to me, so like laughing alongside them in the theater, like on the big screen, was really exciting. I obviously love the extended version and seeing all the details. The sound was like immaculate, like just, you can't hear that when you're sitting in like your family room watching it on, you know, normal TV. Like it has to be in the theater to hear very specific things. Like the Nazgul screeches, oh my gosh, horrifying. I also really liked all of like the wizards chanting and spells and everything, like Gandalf and Saruman, like it was so booming and so good, and oh my gosh. Definitely a success for movie 1, and within the next week or two, I will be back for The Two Towers and Return of the King. Oh my gosh, it's just so like nostalgic, like jumping back into these movies, seeing all of these actors and these people that like I love so dearly, and all of the little Easter eggs I know over the years, and it's just so good. I'm so emotional. Hello, it is January 21st around 1:30 p.m. and I am going to be seeing Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers in just a few hours. The showtime today is at 4:15 and I have just a couple of errands to run before that. I'm gonna change into a better kind of Lord of the Rings themed outfit like I did yesterday. And yes, I'm ready for number 2. I know this one's going to make me cry even more than the first one, especially by the end with Sam's speech. Like, oh my gosh, I have to like prepare myself for that speech. I just can't go into it. Like, I have to like mentally prepare because it's so beautiful and emotional, and oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I will be seeing this movie with my mom, so we will be headed out in like 2-3-ish hours, and yeah, I'm just so excited. So I will see you later to show off the outfit. Hello, it is January 28th and I will be seeing The Return of the King today in actually about an hour, so I gotta hustle here. I'm gonna go change into kind of my Lord of the Rings style outfit that I am wanting for this movie, but I'm gonna be seeing it with my mom, and yeah, I know I'm gonna cry. This is literally gonna be like 4.5 hours. At least we have the good AMC seats, and yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm also preparing myself because, again, I know I'm gonna cry.
The climax of The Two Towers with the death of Saruman, courtesy of Wormtongue. You know, I remember Christopher Lee being very irate that we had cut this scene out for a reboot. I think he made some disparaging remarks in the press, but he didn't really understand about extended editions or anything. I said, Chris, it's going to be on an extended edition, it'll be great.